Hi guys, this is Notes 12. So today we're evaluating piecewise functions. So we know that this means substituting or plugging in. Alright, so today we're going to be substituting or plugging in. So some functions have simple rules, like for every x, return x squared. So we see that like that, for like this. For every x in the function, we're going to return x squared. Right? That's a pretty simple one. That's something we've worked with in the past. Some are less simple. So for example, they might tell us that if x is less than 0, we're going to return 2x. So they might say something like this, f of x, so this is the function, and there's going to be more than one thing, so I'm going to put it in my bracket. And they say if x is, if x is less than 0, then that we're going to give back 2x. If x is greater than or equal to 0, we're going to return 3x. So if it's greater than or equal to 0, then the function's going to be the 3x function. They're called piecewise function because they have different pieces, right? Their rules aren't uniform but consist of multiple pieces here. So you can see, literally can see the first piece and a second piece there. So they look like this when they're complete. So in this case, this one here, we can see that if x is less than 3, then we're going to use this equation here. If x is in between 3 and 10, so in between 3 and 10, we're going to use this equation here. And if x is bigger than 10, we're going to use the blue equation there. So every time I'm going to look to see what my x value is. Right? So I see my x value is 4. So in this case, I need to use the middle equation because 4 is in between 3 and 10. So I'm going to use the green equation, x squared minus 7. I'm going to substitute in my x, 4 squared minus 7. 4 squared would be 16 minus 7. I can do that on my calculator or in my head is 9. All right, so I knew that I needed to plug into the green equation because my x equaled 4. It was in between 3 and 10. So for this one, if I'm looking at my x value is -1, right? I know that -1, right? So x equals -1. -1 is less than 3, so I'm going to need to use the red equation right here. So I have -x minus 4. I have my negative. I'm going to substitute in the -1 instead of x minus 4. A negative and a negative make a +1 minus 4 would give me -3. So I know that that is my answer there. All right. So that's basically how we do it. We take a look at the restrictions. The restrictions are here. So if t equals 17, I'm going to use this one. If t equals 19, I'm going to use this one. And if t is not 19 or 17, right? So we have a rule for 17, we have a rule for 19, but if t is not 17 or 19, that means everything else. So if t is anything else, then we're going to use the green equation there. So in the first one, I know that I'm going to use the black equation, the first equation. In the second one, it says t is -2. That's everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and use the green equation here. Go ahead and fill those in on your own and use your calculator to help you out. Pause the video for now. And then finally, we have evaluating from a graph. So in this case, they tell you the graph, right? They tell you the graph, and we need to figure out if x is equal to 1, then we want to know where the graph is. So I'm going to go on my x-axis. There's my x-axis. So I'm going on my x-axis, and I'm going to go to where x equals 1, which is right here. and I'm going to go up to where the line is. The line's right here. So I could say that if x equals 1, then y equals 2. So I'd say that this equals 2. It's always going to be equal to my y. So I'm going to plug in my x value at -2. So again, I'm going to go on my x-axis. I'm going to -2 this time, 1, 2, and I'm going down to the line, and that's going to give me this point here. And I'm reporting back my y value, which is -2. If I was thinking about these like coordinate points, it'd be like 1, 2, or -2, -2. So in this case, I'm thinking, okay, my x is 3. What's the rest of my point? So I'm going to go over to 3, and I see there's no function there, right? There's nothing to put, and so I'm going to go ahead and put undefined. That's what it means when the function isn't there. Then in this case, we want to know what x is, right? So this is a different type of problem. We want to know what x is, right? So in our coordinate point, that's a question mark. And then they tell us f of x, or the y, equals 2. So I know the y equals 2. So I'm going to go on my y-axis this time. And I'm going to go over to where y equals 2. Y equals 2 right here. I'm going to look for the function, right? Look for the function, and then they want to know what x is, so I'm going to go down to x, and I see that it's 1. So I would say x equals 1. I can do the same thing for my y value here. I'm looking for my y value. This says what is x when y equals -4. So I'm going on my y-axis, and I see like -3, then -4. There's no graph down here, right? There's nothing there. And so again, I would say that this is undefined. So when I don't see a graph, I'm just going to write undefined.